we are actually late by 40 years. It's all because sadly we are still following the Western thought process. Science as of today is not science, but is practiced all over the world. Most of it is scientific myths that are generated by the corporate culture. Corporates sponsor, including the so-called scientific research. The scientific institutes are sponsored. So the scientists are not speaking the truth, they are speaking the sponsored truth. By the way, now that I am in the platform of engineers, I would just like to mention name of Mokshagundam Vishveshwaraya, on whose birthday India celebrates Engineers Day. The world celebrates on March 4th the Engineers Day. Mokshagundam Vishveshwaraya is actually from where I belong, Mysuru, and that's where he built wonderful Kanambadi Dam at the behest of Mysore Maharaja. And apparently I am not an engineer, I mean by profession or he had been a genius of engineering mind, and that's how whole India now celebrates September 15th, his birthday, as Engineers Day. And I have a lot of good and great engineering minds friends in South. Of course, engineers are wonderful beings, but because of engineers, the planet has becoming infertile. The dams have been built, the water irrigation, farming became, because the whole world actually has to be fed. And that is the logic that these guys came up with, and in fact started feeding the food, saying that they have premium food. And all along the human race has been eating coarse grains, and they are not really food. I mean, it's bird feed, it's suwar ka ahaar hai, janoron ka khana hai. These are the exact words these so-called experts of this green revolution, wherein they chose C3 and C3 grasses called rice and wheat. Rice is Oryza sativa and Triticum vulgare. These are the original seeds, and then they just did some tinkering and then patented them. And this is exactly what has happened. And no scientist till today speaks about this dark side of science. In the name of patent and intellectual rights, the corporates have taken away the rights of the seeds of the farmers on this planet. This is the sad story of science. And now, all over the world, farmers have to run around to get the seeds from these corporates. And they do not own the seeds. It's God's given. But then they have been convinced, now all over the world, farmers of the planet have been convinced that if you want seeds, you need to go to the corporates. Because the seeds given by God are painted as lower quality, not good for anything, and they have a lot of here one small example is anti-nutrients. Absolutely nonsense statements. Even today the so-called experts keep making that statements. Absolute nonsense, because you do not know how to cook. You do not know how to cook. Because now you are maintained on Zomato and Swiggy. The kitchens are closed in the western part of the world, and we are trying to ape them. This is the problem with all of us. And these so-called scientists said, oh, millet was there, it came traveled from there to here. No, it never did. all over the planet. 6,000 varieties of C4 grasses. Without anyone's effort, they could grow even today if you allow them. Out of that, more than 300 varieties of these C4 grasses can give you grains. Grains of high quality nutrition and diversified nutrition. And including scientists have wrong conceptions. The gut microbes, pathogenic, symbiotic. You increase sugar content in your bloodstream. That's what your rice and wheat does, and that's how you have lost the gut microbes that can help you being healthy. So it is the symbiotic microbes are actually harbored on fiber. So if you have fiber in your bloodstream and in your celiac region, you can harbor wonderful gut microbes. Tomorrow, you can start eating millets if you know how to cook and what to do with it. Tomorrow. It's not that eating rice and wheat, you cannot eat millets. You should know how to eat millets. You should have the gut microbes, and that's what actually our ancestors did for thousands and thousands, and not thousands, I would want to use lakhs and lakhs of years, because our comprehension only goes back to thousands of years. But these grasses have been on the planet for lakhs of years. And out of that, actually, this C4 and C3. C3 is a molecule called pyruvic acid, from which the rice and wheat build up the grain. Pyruvic acid, oxaloacetic acid, ascorbic acid, citric acid. C3 photosynthesis, this is called. Here, C4 grasses start from C4, oxaloacetic acid, and this is the beauty, that it doesn't require water, it doesn't require fertilizers, it doesn't do anything. And many people think that if you grow the millets in the soil where we have used a lot of pesticides and fertilizers, that would also contain the residues. No, they don't. The grain doesn't have any of this residue because it doesn't take water. So the grain is produced without fertilizers being absorbed. In fact, the root, one of the slides mentioned, the root mass. Out of these millets, there are 2-3 different kinds of groupings. One is the genus type of variations. That are 3 kinds are there, that is actually mentioned in this booklet. I'm actually surprised that they have done that. It's called Ergarostidae, Panaceae, Anthropogenes. So finger millet and teff, these are the 2 grains that belong to the one family of group, and Panaceae, most of the millets belong to, and sorghum and job steer. One of the presenting scientists mentioned that job steer is a fantastic millet. And no millet has any anti-nutrients if you know how to cook. In fact, cooking relieves most of the anti-nutrient properties of most of the grains. In fact, that is the reason why you need to cook grains. You may be able to eat greens and vegetables and fruits raw, but you cannot eat grains raw. As simple as that. You got to cook, because the grain's structure is different. It carries the endosperm to get into the next generations of the plants. So it is a seed carrying life. There are a lot of differences are there. So you need to cook the grains, and they are the staple food. And most of the people, many of these so-called present day nutritionists and so-called wellness master, oh, you should eat raw food only, you should eat only vegetables, it's absolutely unsustainable. Human race cannot eat vegetables and sustain, it cannot eat. So over a period of time, human race dabbled in the tubers, and which have got the fibrous carbohydrate, and so the fiber is needed to release the glucose slowly and steadily into the bloodstream. And the logic is not one-sided. Your blood becomes thick if glucose levels increase suddenly. That means the homeostasis of the blood. You require to maintain the homeostasis of the blood all through your 24/7. The reason is your heart has to pump the blood to each and every nook and corner of your living systems, including the hair, the edge of the hair. So, if your blood becomes thick, you have started your problems. That's where the disease begins. So, the basic fundamental biochemical principle is that you do not want to overload your blood beyond 5 grams of glucose at any given point of time. And anything that does is not your food. As simple as that. Anything that spoils homeostasis of the blood is not your food or food grain. So rice and wheat on this particular definition do not characterize themselves as food of human gut. And immediately after you eat rice and wheat, the blood glucose levels get flooded. You go within 15 minutes, you have 50 grams of glucose if you eat 100 grams of rice or wheat. And in fact, instead of calculating this, these corporate scientists have come up with some concocted way of called what is glycemic index. He is nodding his head. He understands what I am speaking. So this glycemic index is a concocted, calculated value which doesn't have any scientific experimental proof or disproof. So the experiment that you need to do is when you feed a human being, you collect his urine. It's called renal tolerance test, which you can do in an experiment at any given point of time, anywhere on this planet, on anyone, including animals, of course. However, there's a sad story of present day pharmaceutical companies is the research is done on animals, and then an expert committee decides to release into the market, and they don't have time to do all the trials on human race. It is hurried up with a lot of government organizations giving permissions or no permissions, and the cases are going on in the lawsuits and the courts, which is absolutely havoc, causing a lot of problems. And when green revolution experts came to introduce C3 grasses like rice and wheat, which are absolutely unscientific choice for human gut, because it increases sugar, rather glucose content, and so your microbiome is changed. In fact, the microbiome of the human race is changed forever in the last 50 years. And that is the reason why you have all infectious diseases becoming pandemic. If only you had been eating millets, if only your blood has been flooded with fibrous content, you would never ever have an event like that. So anyone who had infectious diseases, that means that their gut microbe is absolutely changed its nature itself. So when you have glucose content high in your bloodstream floating for years after year, your gut microbes, the nature of gut microbes, the diversity of gut microbes completely is disseminated, and you have very few microbes not able to manage your health at any point of time or at any level. And luckily, we can restore that in a matter of 2 to 3 weeks. We have done wonderful experiments about increasing the gut microbes. I'm not talking about today. It has been 25 years ago that we have done. And sadly, the whole world, the medical world, has been claiming that there are diseases that cannot be cured, we can only manage. You keep feeding human race rice and wheat, and your blood is become thick, and then you say you have blood pressure. How nice. How nice. So if you don't feed rice and wheat, your blood does not become thick. So you go to a doctor, he will hand over to you a tablet and say, this is blood thinner, you keep taking. How long? Lifelong. So he doesn't mention anything about rice and wheat that you are eating. Of course, added sugar makes the complications more and more. No, Bengalis, I shouldn't be saying that. Huh? Rasgulla. Absolutely. And Calcutta claims they are number one diabetic. I went to Ahmedabad. They said, no, we eat more jalebi, kilos of jalebi in the morning, and we are number one. Then I went to Hyderabad. Oh, we eat 24/7 palav and biryani, rice. All of you are fighting for second place because Bangalore alone consumes highest amount of insulin on this planet Earth. Can you believe this nonsense? And pharmaceutical companies of diabetic wing alone makes $827 billion profit, net profit. This is not the business. $827 billion. This number is from 2013 to 2014 financial year. 10 years ago. So you have blood glucose being flooded on a minute by minute basis. So the liver, the pancreas, the spleen, the endocrine system is engaged in an emergency operations. What do I do this with stupid glucose? These fellows are pumping into my system. How do I contain this flood? Please convert this into cholesterol, triglycerides, rheumatic factor, glycogen, fat, meat. Oh, all at a sudden you see bellies coming up. Oh, obesity is another disease. So all these diseases and names have been sprouting like mushrooms. Once we changed our food, for millennia, human race has eaten millets all over the world, not only in India, all over the world, each and every continent. It is just that the corporatization of food became so damn dominant that human race has forgotten and the seeds have been destroyed all over the planet. This is the real story. Why this has happened? Because the World War II meant a lot of bomb material was left over, and the bomb material was converted into fertilizer, and C3 grasses are suitable candidates to use the fertilizer, irrigation, pesticides. It became big businesses, and that's what they called green revolution. And all over the world, the corporate sponsored agricultural universities and experts came into existence. So, including Asian experts said, oh, we have been eating primitive food, and this is another word they use. Whoever eat millet is a primitive food. That means you are a fellow in jungly fellows. Huh? This is driven into the minds of the people. And the mindset now is that whoever eats millets is a primitive fellow. This is the sad story. That's what I said. These are all scientific myths. Absolutely no science. It is the millets with variable amounts of fibers. And so depending on fiber, you can actually group them. Depending upon the rainfall needed for each grain of grain, you can group them. You can group the millets on what are called major millets and minor millets depending upon the size of the grain. So there are various ways of doing things, but then the most important thing is the water requirement. So major millets, count them. Right now we have bajra, that is pearl millet, jowar, great millet, Finger millet is ragi, mandwa, nachni. These are all see, Hindi belt is very funny. Different regions, different names. Some places kutki is called foxtail millet. Some places kangni is called foxtail millet. Kutki, kangni, sawa, hara, sam. All these, depending upon areas, you use different names. But basically, kutki, kangni, sawa, hara, sawa, kodo. These are all minor millets. That means the size of the grain is very small compared to ragi, great millet. Chena, proso millet is a little bigger in size. So these major millets require higher amount of rainfall, that is 25 centimeters and above. And below 25 centimeters you cannot get yields of these grains. You need that much rainfall. But minor millets, kodo millet, kutki, foxtail millet, little millet, barnyard millet, and brown top millet. These are the 5 grains that I have worked with. You can grow them even if the rainfall is 10 centimeters, 15 centimeters. So when you convert that into per kilo consumption of water as an agriculture scientist, it doesn't exceed beyond 300 liters of water per kilo. And rice and wheat, obviously everyone knows it goes beyond 7,000 to 10,000 liters of water average. So right now we have been growing rice and wheat in Punjab and that Haryana area, and there was water. If you just put your hand, you could get water in Punjab soils. Now you have to dig 1,000 feet to get water. And whatever water left now, if you keep growing rice and wheat, by 2039 you will exhaust that water also. I'm not talking about the rain, I'm talking about the water under the ground, water table. So 16 more years you have no water to grow your rice and wheat in India. Now give me that water. And if you eat millets, I will give you food for 500 more years. This is the comparison. Even today Rajasthan grows, there is no water there, absolutely dry soils. It grows bajra, jowar. Bajra, jowar, ragi are left in Indian continent because of the simple reason that you don't need to remove the husk. All the other millets, basically proso millet also, a major millet, you have to remove the husk. Dehusking is actually the real problem. As you get into minor millets, they are so small that to remove the husk out of this grain and then present the rice is very difficult task. And no research, no machines, no engineers have worked on this. I have a complaint about engineering fellows, because it is discarded grain, not forgotten grain. Even today, the whole history, everyone, all the experts, including Indian Institute of Millet Research Institute, of course, that institute was actually up to 2017 or 18 called Jowar Research Institute, which was actually doing research for food for animals. All at a sudden, overnight, 2017 or 18, it became Indian Institute of Millet Research Institute, because from 1997 to till today I have been touring each and every village in the South India and then trying to convince the dryland farmers who have been marginalized because their products, they were growing these grains but no one to even ask for that. So they slowly disappeared from the market. They slowly disappeared from the fields of the farmers, and they disappeared. The seeds also disappeared. And that's how the corporatization of monoculture food killed the diversity of the food grains on this planet Earth. This is the reality. This is the fact. But no scientist is ready to say the thing as it is. So you have been made to be addicted to this fiberless grains. I am using the word addicted because it is the sugar that is released in your bloodstream immediately gives you kick. Sugar is the most addictive chemical on this planet for human blood. Am I making sense? That's why you are the way you are. Once you eat gulab jamun or rasgulla for few days, without rasgulla you don't want to eat food. Rasgulla kahan hai? It is the sugar within 3 minutes floods your blood and you get the addictive kick. It is worse than morphine, worse than opiates. And till today, no scientist wants to speak about it. And once glucose levels are high, your microbiome, gut microbiome. In fact, there was no research. Only in the last few years, people are talking about microbes, probiotic, prebiotic, again confusing the fellows. It is very simple. There is no pre, all that. Just biome. You eat fibrous foods, your gut microbes increase. And so we have devised a simple technique. You take fibrous grains, soak them for 8 hours because the grain, the carbohydrate is interloculated with the fiber. Carbohydrate and fiber are arranged in layer after layer. Unlike rice and wheat, where the layer of 0.2 grams of fiber in oryza sativa is just on the top layer. As soon as the husk is removed, even if you do not want to remove that thing, just by pounding with a wooden maple, you will remove the. So, rice is polished. And I cannot tell you, once you put it in the machines of angular tangent pressures applied, it is polished. And once you polish any grain, there is no covering. It is the fiber that protects most often from infections. So what to do with the grain, that rice? You have to store. Use wax, use pesticides. So that's where actually you have pesticides, not on millets, because if you do not remove the coating of the millets, you can store them without any pesticides, herbicides, fungicides for 21 years or 210 years. That's the beauty of, in fact, ragi, even without, you can just put it there, nothing happens if it is dried well. If you don't dry a grain, you get into fungal infections immediately. So these are the things that have happened, and we have been losing all the food grains on this planet. It's so much so that there are no original varieties of Oryza sativa or Triticum vulgare. They are all patented, and seeds are owned by seed companies of these food corporates, and all over the world everyone is under their thumb. And sadly, India also writes every year 2.49 lakh crores of subsidy for the fertilizer companies, and you are all thinking rice is 30 rupees, 40 rupees per kilo. You have already paid, and the cost is 2,800 rupees as of now. So when I say please eat millets, oh, millets are 200 rupees per kilo. It is very costly. Including the so-called intellectuals, professors, journalists. Everyone asks me the same question when I say, oh, it is very costly. Who is giving the subsidy money? You have paid beforehand. On top of it, you are paying another 30-40 rupees. And again this drama goes on. We will give you 1 rupee kilo, 0 rupees elections come, 10 rupees or 10 kilos per family will give you free. Who is giving free? We fall prey to it. Nothing is free. It's all your money. It is prepaid. Like your mobile. You have prepaid already. And water management, the engineers building dams, who has paid the money? Who has paid the money? You have paid. And if I add that, irrigation charges per liter, minimum of 25 paisa per liter, the cost of your rice and wheat goes to 2000 rupees more. So these are all the hidden costs that you are not told, neither are you deciphering. Why am I talking the way I am talking is because whenever I say eat millets, people tell me, oh, it's very costly. I understand if an auto driver says that it is costly, and a professor in an agriculture university says the same sentence, I get irritated. And this journalists keep saying the same thing. I get irritated. You see, where are we? The information is absolutely cooked up. Am I making sense? Am I making sense? So you have the grains that cannot sustain homeostasis of the blood, approved by all over the world, the so-called scientists, and the whole planet is eating these two grains that are absolutely unscientifically defined for human blood. They spoil the gut microbes, they increase the cholesterol, triglycerides, all that, but then they say, oh, you are eating salt more, that's why your BP is high. Never ever salt has created BP. Maybe it will increase your BP if you are already a BP patient. Who made you BP patient? It is the sugar, it is the rice, it is the wheat, it is that milk, it is that burgers, cheese that is making you BP patient, and no doctor tells you stop eating rice when you have BP. Believe me, you stop eating rice, within 3 days your BP will come down. Arey Dr. Khadar, if I don't eat for 3 days, what do I do? Eat millets. Eat as much as you want. पेट भर ज़्यादा खा लीजिए, no problem. Then you will not eat food for next 2 days. As I told you, don't eat for 3 days. Eat 1 day कोडो मिलेट. पराठा खाओ, खिचड़ी खाओ, कुछ भी खाओ. जी भर खाओ, पेट भर खाओ, तन मन भर खाओ. Nothing will happen to you because the regulating factor of fiber is in your body. It does everywhere regulation. Whatever is excess, it will throw you out of your body. I'm not going to go into details of the nutritional facts. Everything that you dream of, you want, is there in this 5 millets. I can have a small slide, the book. In fact, the PDF, the book that they have translated, that also has got that. If we can just get to that, where is So by choosing rice and wheat, we have chosen disease. So the excess glucose, after getting converted to cholesterol, triglycerides, rheumatic factor, glycogen, fat, all things happen, and then excess is still remaining. What does the body do? Puts the glucose on the hemoglobin itself. It becomes HbA1c. You start becoming diabetic. So in the last 50 years, the human race started consuming more and more rice and wheat. Diabetes increased decade by decade. Now we are at most 30 to 40% of people are diabetic. When there is blood with high glucose almost all functions in the body start getting deviated, including the hormones. The thyroid doesn't release it gets accumulated or lower down. So hormonal disturbances happen because the homeostasis of the blood is disturbed. You see how beautifully we have wonderful recipe for diseases in the human race. So much so that now the born kids below 8 years have diabetes. Now they call it type 1 diabetes, type 2 diabetes, gestational diabetes, one more diabetes. What does diabetes mean? Excess glucose, which is sitting on your hemoglobin. When you have hemoglobin carrying glucose, what is the main function of hemoglobin? To carry oxygen, exchange with the carbon dioxide that you make when you make ATP to give you energy. So you have glucose tagged along hemoglobin. You cannot have oxygen being given to the mitochondria, so you cannot get energy. You start becoming fatigued. See how beautifully we have cooked up the recipe for becoming sick. And so go to doctor, they'll give you tablet and then say, how long should I take this, doctor? Lifelong. What should have been they saying? Don't eat rice, don't eat wheat, don't eat sugar. As simple as that. Which is more scientific? Take tablets lifelong or go ahead. You are coming to Calcutta and say, don't telling us not to eat rasgulla. You can eat rasgulla. In fact, you are eating the best rasgulla that anyone can make in the world. That is with toddy palm sugar, which has got fructose, the sister of glucose, which does not disturb your homeostasis because it is a freely water soluble, as good as glucose. But glucose will not be going out because every cell on this body has been given to absorb glucose. Fructose is not so because of its isomeric condition. Very simple. God is so great. So you can have your sweet, but does not disturb. In fact, that's where the English, when they came here, Eastern India Company, they saw you guys eating very good sweet. They went and so-called sugar estates and made this glucose-rich sugarcane thing and spoiled the whole world. Of course, along with this sugar, apart from being scientists, historically it is what started the laborers. They carried the black people different places and made sugarcane estates, because sugar estates, and a whole lot of human maladies started with that, both internally and externally. Because the sugarcane started, if it is 11 months old crop, you need to make 1 kilo sugar, 28,000 liters of water. California and Florida Everglades, the aquifers have been emptied now. California is burning in every summer. Florida, all the Everglades, wonderful water marsh areas, they have evaporated the water just to make sugar, so that all these Westerners can eat sugar, sugar, sugar. Meat and sugar, meat and sugar. This is the story of the science in the last, food science, let me say, instead of saying science. Of course, you are able to send the rocket to the Mars. But then after going to the Mars, you do not know how to shit because you are constipated. Gastric, IBS, Crohn's. 43% people in the Western countries have IBS and Crohn's because gut microbe is completely screwed up. If you restore your gut microbe, within 3 weeks, your IBS will go away. We have the list. madam or another scientist showed the same words: positive grains, neutral grains, and negative grains. I have grouped them: wheat and rice are negative grains, and all others are good grains, according to me. Among the good grains, you can say first, second, like that. So, according to me, these positive grains whose fiber content is above 8, foxtail millet has got 8%, barnyard millet has got 10%, kodo millet has 9%, little millet 9.8%, brown top millet is 12.5%. And each fiber has its own wonderful nature. Brown top millet fiber, in the fiber there are two varieties again: soluble and insoluble. And beauty of these 5 grains is that they have matured fiber against immature fiber of vegetables and fruits, that is carbohydrate fibers, whereas the lignans are precursors to lignin. Lignin is wood. If you stand on the wood and touch the electric wire, nothing happens to you, because the electrons that pass get stabilized in the aromatic pool of electrons. Absolutely no problem. The same thing happens into your bloodstream when you eat these wonderful 5 millets. Because of the nature of this soluble fiber, which is aromatic, called lignans. 3% of lignans is available in that. Depending on each grain, variations are there, of course. You understand what I am speaking? So that means your energy, negative energy, is stabilized, because the aromatic pool of electrons are running around 6 carbons, and if you have conjugated systems, it could be 60 carbon units, among which your electrons run out. In fact, this is the most beautiful thing of this wonderful 5 grains. EMF, it is called electron motive force, is the source of all diseases in any living cell. If you can stabilize EMF before it becomes free radical, then you have eliminated the disease from a living cell. And that's what happens when you eat these grains. Because you eliminate the EMF, which is generated while producing ATP, adenosine triphosphate, in your mitochondrial system when the electron tumbles down to the cytochrome systems, releasing energy and making ATP from ADP. This is the beauty. You are able to target the disease generating counters before it becomes free radical and starts damaging the organelles and then organs, and then the dysfunction releases. So no disease can be produced if you are eating millets, especially these 5 millets. What about this, the major millets? The content of the fiber is less. You may say, you see, wheat has 1.2 gram and pearl millet has also got 1.2 grams. Then why wheat is bad? Why pearl millet is good? In fact, pearl millet fiber is lactogenic, and if a mother, feeding mother, takes pearl millet, you get enough milk, wonderful milk for as much as you want. Your baby is grown up 6 months, 9 months, 1 year, enough milk. You don't need to give any other milk. And that is the nature of the fiber that is available in this. Whereas here, it is on the top layer. And to negate everything, wheat has got a protein called gluten, which can simply kill your celiac region. Absorption of nutrients and the microbes in one shot, it does the job. On top of it, the same gluten can spoil your pancreas over a period of time. And of course, I don't want to get into the processed foods of wheat, which while making the so-called maida or atta, you generate a chemical called alloxan, which is a direct experimental drug to make any living animal, mammalian, to be diabetic. That means your pancreatic cells will stop producing insulin once alloxan falls into your bloodstream. See, another wonderful recipe to make you diabetic. And sadly, in South, when a person becomes diabetic, they say eat wheat. I don't know, North also has got equal number of diabetic patients. What do the doctors tell here? Eat rice? Yeah, eat wheat. And it is the wheat actually which is directly generating the diabetic condition. And I don't want to say this, but then I will simply spill it out. 1954, our Lok Sabha makes called Wonder Drug Act. Below given diseases are not curable. If someone claims or advertises that they have something to cure, there is no wonder drug, so you be put in jail. And that law is still on even today. So now I cannot tell that I can cure diabetes. I can only say I can reverse diabetes. See the sad story. We can eliminate the disease. And I will just play one testimonial. We have thousands of such. Switch off the lights here.
Right. Audio.
In a video. Hearing.
Audio though?
Audio also. Okay.
Hi, I'm Shruti. I'm from Bangalore. Last year, my son was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes in the month of September. He was barely 13 at the time. He had to be rushed to the hospital. He was in the hospital for about 7 days, where his medication or treatment included him taking insulin injections. And even when we got back, we were told that, this is how his life is going to be, where he has to manage his blood sugar levels only with insulin injections, and that he had to take it for about 4 to 5 times a day. And not just that, in the middle of the night, we had to check his blood sugar levels every day so that he doesn't enter a hyperglycemic state. And that is very painful to see, right? Thankfully, on the 9th day after his discharge, our very close relative, because of his experience with Dr. Khadar, recommended us to go consult him. So I took my son along to Mysore, and we saw Dr. Khadar. Dr. Khadar immediately put us at ease. He said, my son does not have to be dependent on insulin injections for the rest of his life, that there was another way that included switching to a millet diet, stopping anything that was processed, stopping milk and milk-related products, switching to an organic diet, and following a good physical regime, that is a good exercise routine. And immediately we started that. Also, Dr. Khadar, in his disease protocol, he recommends for diabetes, he recommends taking concoctions of certain leaves in the morning and having bull-driven oils. There are 5 types that he recommends for diabetes. So we started doing that for my son. And in a week's time, we could see how his insulin dosage had to be reduced, right? For every meal, in fact, we had started giving him lesser and lesser because his blood sugar levels were getting controlled with lesser dosage of insulin. And believe it or not, at the end of 1 month, we could, stop his medication completely. He was just managing it with whatever Dr. Khadar recommends, with the millet diet, with drinking the concoction of certain leaves, with the bull-driven oils, and following a healthy regime. So we are extremely indebted to Dr. Khadar for his timely help. We are grateful to him because he's been our savior. And I recommend that everybody follow Dr. Khadar's protocol. Even if you're healthy, please switch to a millet diet. Stop eating gluten and rice, because it does more harm than good to our bodies. All of us at home eat whatever my son has.
Yeah. Now it's been 5 years, that boy. Just on Thursday, 5th of September, it's called Teachers' Day. This same lady sends me a WhatsApp message. On this special occasion of Teachers' Day, I wanted to take a moment to express my heartfelt gratitude. Your guidance on how to nourish our bodies, live healthier lives has been transformative. All that blah 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 she has written. And this September 5th, 2024, it's been now 6 years. Once a year they come to our house and they take blessings and go. And he has not gone to any doctor. Either type 1 diabetes. Diabetes itself is incurable now. Now type 1 diabetes we have, in fact, just yesterday, day before yesterday, there actually from Patna, I believe, one small girl called Naira. She also had her HbA1c 12, and then for the last 2 months they have been following. Her HbA1c is already come down to 8, and her insulin level from morning 10 units, afternoon 5 units, evening 10 units. It has now come down to 5 units, 3 units. It doesn't matter. So the reason is that they don't have the oils. The North India people do not yet have the luxury of having the right oils, the bull-driven ghani oils. The reason why bull-driven ghani oils are all the real oils is that you do not mitigate the law of STP, standard temperature and pressure. See, all biochemistry on this planet happens depending upon the temperature and pressure. Now, you go climb the mountain. As you go up, you need oxygen cylinder to push the oxygen to your lungs, because the pressure is decreasing and the temperature is also decreasing. So you cannot change the two parameters at a time. Then the biochemistry doesn't happen. Even the oxygen doesn't stick to your lungs. So in that case, why are we cooking our food in the pressure cooker? And we have all food technologies not saying a single word. That's why our ancestors cooked in a mud pot. Why mud pot? Why mud pot? There are micropores all through the vessel. So when you heat, the pressure doesn't build up, it escapes. Even the lower layers of the food material doesn't feel the pressure of the top layer. Imagine you have a steel vessel. I put 1 kilo, then I put on top of it another kilo. Now the lower layer has the weight of 1.9 kilos of the, whereas in a mud pot it doesn't feel the pressure because the air is going out. You see the beauty of cooking in a mud pot, and that's what we did. Show the Ambali. Puri Jagannath, you go to temple, they cook even today the mud pots. The reason is you only increase the temperature, not pressure, and that's how your food is nutritious before cooking, after you eat. This is the beauty, and that is the science of cooking. Yeah, the book that you get even in Bengali has a lot of information: what to eat, what not to eat, why not to eat, how to drink water, how to clean vegetables, all that. And the most important thing for human being to be healthy is the gut microbes, because gut microbes are the ones which produce vitamin B12, which is the most beautiful chemical with good number of optical isomeric centers, the racemic, beautiful. Yeah. So how do we increase the gut microbes? This way, very simple, straightforward. Aam Aadmi with 2 rupees cost. Now we have the so-called allopathic world selling prebiotic, probiotic capsules wrapped in a plastic, 2 or 3 microbes, selling for 8,000, 10,000. You can get all diversified microbes in your gut in a matter of 3 weeks. You keep changing the grains every day or 2 days once. Soak them for 8 hours because the consecutive layers of fiber has to be hydrated. Without hydration, you cannot cook. So hydrate the grain well. Even if you take suji or flour of the grain, you need to hydrate. You need to soak at least for 2 to 3 hours minimum. If you have flour, if you have suji, 4 hours. If you have the whole grain without breaking, you need to soak at least for 8 hours. Once you soak, all the anti-nutrients are gone. And once you cook slow and steady for 10-15 minutes, and then allow it to cool and tie a cotton cloth, khadi cloth. Within 6 to 8 hours, it takes the microbes depending upon what grain you have, what fiber you have, minimum of 100 to 1800 varieties of microbes, not number, different kinds of microbes. Numbers you do not know how much, absolutely in lakhs and lakhs. So this liquid porridge, fermented porridge, is called in our culture rabdi in some places, khameer in some places. In South Indian language it's called ambali. Ambali we call. And that microbes, 2 days kodo, 2 days ragi, 2 days bajra, 2 days kangni, all these 10 grains you take. Within 20 days, your gut microbe health increases so much so that we have had blood cancer fellows not going to the blood transfusion within 20 days. Many of the cases. That means so many biological activities, these wonderful microbes help our living cells, because our living cells cannot make a lot of things, biochemicals. All of them, these guys make for you, including vitamin B12. But you know, there is a big scientific myth. Vitamin B12 is available only in meat. So you eat salmon, you eat this fellow, you eat bear's liver. Single word, scientific name. Including in the bear's liver, who makes vitamin B12? Microbes. So you have your microbes making vitamin B12 for you, and then your liver will do the remaining job. So now you go and eat liver of the monkey, liver of the donkey, liver of this, or catfish, salmon fish, all this. The proteinaceous nature of those animals does not allow the vitamin B12 to be absorbed by. That's why even after everyone is eating this much meat in Western countries, still their vitamin B12 dipped. And all the doctors in the world are gone selling vitamin B12 injections are. You see, what am I trying to drive? The point is that it is disease. It's not so. So you want vitamin B12 deficiency removed? Lo and behold, 2 rupees. You need only 5 grams of any of this grain. 5 into 20 days. 20 into 5 grams is how much? 100 grams. So highest cost is brown top millet right now in India. Say 350 or 500 rupees per kilo. So how much money is it? 100 grams, 50. IBS, Crohn's, ulcerative colitis, anal cancers, like that. Just like that. IBS, no cure. Keep taking steroids. And spoil your immunity much more. See how beautiful science. Huh? 50 rupees, 20 days, your IBS gone. Many of the patients require not even 10 days. Because luckily in India people still are using little bit of greens, this and there. In America you go on vegetables, this carrot and peas. That's all. 2 carrots, 2 peas. Nowadays they are eating little lettuce between the burger. And they call very scientific, very scientific. See their food. Absolute nonsense. And we are following them. If they are stupid, we are idiots. The idiots only follow stupid things. Excuse me for my language. I want to drive a point. That's why I am using these words. We have got 20% so much. 80 kilos, 100 kilos, 200 kilos people are weighing. Even 6.5 foot human being should not be weighing more than 70 kilos. What are we doing here? And we have all these so-called nutritionists, body trainers, this trainers. Oh, I am trainer of some celebrities. Huh? We pay this much money. What are they telling? Eat this much, weigh balance, weigh. To keep balance and then weigh and then cook. What nonsense is this? Eat whatever you want. Eat the right food. अब तो सुबह उठ के 10 कोडो इडली खाते रहे. Then I forget about food. The thought of food doesn't even enter my mind till next day. And that is what the definition of food is in common man's. And that's what we did for thousands of years. अभी तो doctors are to, oh, you do every 2 hours. 6 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock. So you go on disturbing your digestive system every 2 hours. What the hell is going on? The system is confused. Who told this to you? Experts have told. Huh? That's why I am eating biscuit, I am eating this, I am eating this. See the scientific myth that they have created. In fact, that itself can cause you gastric problem. Are we begging with this? We have no questions to ask. Can we not spread the right information? That's why I said we are following blindly what these guys are doing. Everything is absolutely unscientific. It's because the business is running the show. Milk. $1 trillion business. You give milk for whom? Ladies, I'm asking. Huh? For your child, not children. For that particular moment, that particular baby. Now that baby grows up, 2 years or so. The milk is dried up. Then after 2 years, you give birth to another baby. Does the first baby come and drink the milk of the second baby? No. Then why are you making your babies drink some billion cows mixed IVF steroid antibiotic grown milk in your baby's mouth? Cows give milk for whom? For its calf. So why are you drinking? Forget about babies. We are drinking coffee in the morning, paneer in the afternoon, rasgulla in the night. It's absolute mayhem creating hormonal imbalance. The hormone balance of progesterone, estrogen, androstenedione, there are few steroidal hormones that control. In fact, they are the ones which decide whether your embryo becomes male or female, whether you are having boy or girl in your tummy. First, the embryo is zero. I mean, it has this or no that or only the hormone balance creates this. But so much so that in the last 25 years, hormonal imbalance is so big that now in Europe, 28% of kids are born, they do not know who they are. LGBTQ. They don't know whether they are girl or boy. Themselves are confused. It's because of hormonal imbalance. The way we grow meat. 2 months, chicken has to become 2 kilos. 3 months, a pig has to become 300 kilos. 6 months, a cow has to become 600 kilos. Done by steroids and antibiotics and IVF. Sunday a Monday, cow Monday. Protein. So, green revolution is over, white revolution is over, now they are spinning pink revolution. You need protein. Do you know there is not a single peptidase in your mouth to the stomach? Only after the food exits, you have the celiac guts coming into picture, and then peptidases along with it, coordination works and the peptide bonds are broken. And protein metabolism is not your main metabolism, protein synthesis. To build mitochondria, to build the muscle, you need protein. You need only 4 to 5% of protein. Whereas the moment your lips, carbohydrate, dehydrating and degrading enzymes are there through all mammalian systems, including a lion. It has a different intestine, different stomach, different enzyme systems, and different acid rush. Our acid does not go below 2.5, even if you have hardest acid itself. Whereas in the birds like Garuda, eagles, it goes up to 0.5 also acid. That means when you drink the ambali, the stomach opens into celiac region. When you drink water, it doesn't stay in your tummy. That's why we have discovered this method, that you just have only 5 grams in a liter of water. The ambali, the fermented porridge, should be very thin liquid. So when you drink, you escape the acid rush. The acid, HCl, kills the microbes. So when you eat vegetables, fruits or food, it is the reminiscence of the microbes that escape this acid rush that will grow your gut microbes. So no one actually has good gut microbes because of this wonderful point of your digestive system. And HCl is not there all the time. Only when you eat and when there is a feedback kicking signal, you get the acid. So how do we fake that? So that our microbes, 90% of them are safely passing through this bottleneck. You understand what I'm saying? And that's why we make thin porridge and you drink before you eat. And this is what actually has made thousands and thousands of type 1 diabetic kids come alive, because that wonderful gut microbes start repairing your pancreas, which has been declared that it is not possible because it is genetically gone. Even genetic disorders can be repaired if you have the gut microbes, symbiotic microbes, and how they can be present and enriched. This is the simple mechanism, and it costs 5 rupees. We have had gangrene patients, we have had auto drivers, we have had laborers, just starting to eat this, their health condition improves in a matter of 3 weeks. 3 weeks, all that it takes. So we have had thousands of IBS, thousands of ulcerative colitis, gastric problems, disappear like that. But if only we do this properly. वो अम्बली पीना है, उसमें हम फ्रूट्स डाल सकते हैं, ये डाल सकते हैं, मसाला डाल सकते हैं, गरम मसाला डाल सकते हैं. Especially Northerners, without that garam masala, nothing gets into them. Pav bhaji, this bhaji, that, oh my God, too much. You need spices, they're antioxidants, they're very small quantities you require. And if you overdo it, they will itself burn you. But what actually happens is when you start using this artificial foods, you need all these complements and you become addicted to all this. And they are using this to their advantage for people. They are using chemicals, flavors, then you get addicted to this. Oh, I want that Golgappa in that place only. Because that particular place, that particular people are using that particular bottles of. See how we have been leading our lives. So you have to have mindfulness. I don't mistake this mindfulness, this big spiritual fellows are using. I am not using that kind of mind. Just be mindful of what you are eating, what you are eating, how you are eating, how you are not eating. I am a down to earth mundane fellow. Very simple. We have seen thousands of people get well and host of disease conditions. We have tabled almost 108. Our Arkesina sub mentioned. You should just go through, see, starting from dialysis, uric acid, diabetes, PCOD, hormonal imbalance, fibroids, endometriosis, BP, blocked heart-related, cholesterol, triglyceride, angina pectoris. All these systems of different disease conditions we have figured out to stop. So if you have kidney stones, 8 mm, 10 mm, 2 centimeters, what all you need to do is eat foxtail millet, ground top millet, barnyard millet 2 days. The best way to consume it in the form of fermented porridge, minimum of 5 to 6 weeks. After drinking porridge, make paratha, make khichdi, whatever you eat well. And you eat well. Don't say, oh, I have to eat this much. In the early stages, you may not feel like eating. But if you take ambali, within 4 days, you will have no problems. Because it is the gut microbes that have the feedback system switch on and switch off in your whole digestive canal. In fact, it is the gut microbes that control your brain, the mental state. You are being happy, you are being peaceful, you are being restless, you are being restful. The word restfulness comes only if you have good gut microbes. You will never ever get irritated. Have you observed when I was telling I get irritated? It's a irritation of mind. It's not even mind. For me, it is thought process. See, I don't get irritation because my gut microbes are happy. It is the gut that controls your brain. Actually, 2.2 kilos of microbes have to be there in your tummy. As of now, it is only 0.8 kilos. So you have lost so many wonderful doctors that are there in your tummy. So if you take Ambali, 24/7 doctor in your tummy, you don't need to go to hospitals. What do you get going to hospitals? Are you getting help? You are getting tablets, MRI scan, PET scan, CAT scan, and whatnot. Tomorrow you will have dog scan, and you will have another God scan. That's all is happening. Your health is lost. Where did you lose your health? In the kitchen. And you are searching it in the hospital. So if I lose my mobile here and search there, will you get your mobile? You need to get back to kitchen. But then our IAS officer said, women are not cooking. But you are the one who made them not to cook because of Zomato, Swiggy. It's you also should go to kitchen. What if your wife falls sick? Isn't it your responsibility to cook and give to her? When you fall sick, it is automatic that she has to take care of it. And we keep talking equal rights, equality. First, let's go to kitchen. Kitchen is where you find yourself. It is the kitchen we have lost. Again, following the recipe. So, processed foods, whether it is millets or otherwise, not going to be healthy for you. So, cooking in your own home, in your own kitchen, is equal to health. Even if you eat this stupid rice, you are still going to be healthier than eating processed food. So please go back to kitchen if you want to be healthy. Learn how to cook. And cooking is most beautiful thing on this planet for humans. I love cooking. And I respect whoever cooks. And that's the only job. Actually, remaining things all are businesses. और सब कुछ व्यवहार है, सही काम, उबालना, उगाना, दो ही काम है. There are only two jobs, real jobs on this planet for human beings: to grow, simple as that. And your health is guaranteed. Nowadays, everyone is guaranteeing something. We will also guarantee. All guarantees. Your health is guaranteed if you eat millets and the right oils, because it is the oils that control the endocrine system and that clean the endocrine systems. And the endocrine systems are the hormonal epicenters. If you imbalance them, your whole biochemical processes get derailed. See how everything is related to each other. Absolutely connected. Absolutely. Imagine you have tooth pain. Just tooth pain. If your gut microbes are alright, they will repair that too. You have anger. If your gut microbes are alright, it will cool down itself. In fact, many people whose gut microbes are, they don't get angry. In fact, they don't panic. Even if a lion comes in front of them, that's what is human effort. Do not panic. All these sadhakas, big rishis, that's what they are. That's what they are. They're the same, this way or that. So all these kinds of healthy parameters are defined and designed in this millet by God. And we have lost them. So, first time when I went to America in 1987, I saw a small baby, 6-year-old menstruating. in a hospital. That's when I got so shocked. What are we doing to ourselves? A small baby of 6 years is menstruating and no one has any question to ask. And we have now 3-year-old type 1 diabetes patient. We have no problem. Don't bother about what we are eating, what we are doing, how we are doing, spraying chemicals. The pizza in New York, pizza in Hyderabad, pizza in Calcutta, pizza in Arambattur tastes the same. Because we are using the same chemical, same process, same same. This is corporatization. And that is the reason why we are sick. And no doctor is talking about this. No expert is even anywhere nearby this truth. And then we are all forced to go to experts who are ready to hand over to you tablets, operations, scans. So good recipe, feed you food that can generate disease, then management of the disease. Now we have libraries after libraries, research after research piled up, and not even one disease being healed. BP, diabetes, thyroid, cancer, IBS, Crohn's. List goes on and on and on. Just cancer itself, we have 24 different kinds of carcinoma. So all that is listed in this booklet, you can find these protocols are actually having healed more than 1,000 patients. We have registered into this, logged into this book. And actually there is a big book of 200 pages. No one was reading anything. So we sat down and made it into a small booklet. So that people at least glance, their attention span has become so problematic that no one even reads this. The moment they are phone, WhatsApp messages, I get thousands of messages. How do I make humble? We have given in the book step by step. It is a handbook. But they don't even read one page. And many people in the villages are doing themselves. So I actually have taken a lot of time and a lot more content is left. How to grow, how we can release the villages. We have done a lot of experiments. In fact, in a village we have gone and taken 50 diabetic patients and fed them this food for 30 days. All of them are free. Out of that, 5 ladies, we handed over 8 acres of land. Now they grow the millet, they dehusk the millets, they make khichdi, they make idli, they make roti and feed. Now more than 400 diabetic patients are healed by this, and it is running a canteen in the road between Anantapur and another called Kurubunta. So they are growing their vegetables there. Everything is done there only. So now that 5 women are free totally, economically independent. So we can make this as a village model. The whole villages, and I told you $827 billion, that actually comes around 60,000 Shatakoti Rupal. I mean, it's huge number. It's like our budget. Just diabetes alone. Forget about all other diseases. So if I just heal all the diabetic patients in our country, and we can do it in a matter of years, if the information is there and then they start eating. So imagine each year we can save that much money, and so with all due respect, Pradhan Mantri Narendra Modi ji does not need to work so hard, because we don't need to spend that much money on our health. In fact, that we are not talking. We are only talking about GDP, this and that, but we don't know how much money we are draining our system. There's huge amount of money that is being drained. We are draining it. In fact, there is a saying in our Kannada, ಮುಂದೆ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇರೋ ಇರುವೆ ಎನಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಆನೆ ಹಿಂದೆ ಸಾಲಾಗಿ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. The elephants are going behind and the fellow is counting the hands. This is the problem we are facing. So, in fact, once we start eating millets, growing millets, we can solve the problems of human race almost everything. Global warming, in fact, it is the grasses of the C4 grasses harbor hygroscopic bacteria that can regulate the rains themselves. So the flood relief, everything can be managed because it is the grasslands of the planet that control. Most of the people are thinking it is the ocean and then the water cycle. But there is a wonderful micro world which actually regulates. It is the hygroscopic bacteria that spans across 80% of the planet, which makes this C4 photosynthesis and carbon dioxide sink. Everything. We are only talking about forests, but this is 50%. And of course, 30% of it is ocean phytoplankton, which again is a carbon dioxide sink. So these things are all put together. It is holistic. It's not one separate departments and compartments. So we have, for administrative purposes, compartmentalized science itself. Science is not compartmentalized or departmentalized. It is a holistic thing. So the hygroscopic bacteria on the grass blades and the bacteria in your gut and the rains and the water cycle, everything is connected. It's as a whole the planet breathes. We are breathing carbon dioxide more, taking oxygen less because the balance is lost. And that's how we have global warming. So now if we do not consume rice, wheat, meat, all this, 92 billion pigs are slaughtered every year. Each kilo of meat requires 50,000 liters of water. I keep mentioning water because it's one of the parameters of natural resources. And we are drying up. Siberia is melting. So each and every cup of coffee and tea and egg and pulao that you are eating, you are warming up. So what is happening is you are heating yourself by the choice of food that you have made, which is very unscientific at the behest of corporates. So corporatization of the food is essentially the reason why we are here, why we are the way we are, and why we have 8% of type 1 diabetes, 8% of mentally retarded, 8% of hole in the heart kids born. Thank you. I end my lecture.